intention to lecture you, and you really need to stop making these kinds of assumptions if we're going to share information. I haven't decided about anything you have said. The only thing I'm talking about is the information I have put forward. Personally, I don't deal with conspiracy theories either. I don't find them attractive, even. They're divisive and separatist notions. Granted, they're interesting, but still divisive. I can understand how you're reading it like Marx, because you have already got it in your head that it is like Marx. If you think I'm being fundamentalist in my view, then you clearly haven't considered why. Of course, I call people out for their lack of thought when they disagree with me, but you know why? Because they use logical fallacies and display a level of fear about thinking. If that makes me a fundamentalist for logic and thinking properly, then I put my hands up and declare myself guilty as charged. So what? That doesn't even mean anything now. I can understand how you really like to talk about your academic experience and credentialism. However, that isn't necessarily going to automatically make you right or virtuous when it comes to new information. Just to let you know, you could have a list of qualifications as long as your arm. It doesn't matter. But if you don't apply critical thinking, then I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out. I've had people with PhDs and master's degrees in economics try to argue with me about this kind of stuff, and not one of them were able to properly argue the case that any previously established system of economics is actually sustainable. Strange, I know. And her response, oh good heavens, Marxism isn't a previously established system of economics. It's been attempted, but has not been actually applied as intended. The ideas purported in TZM are just that, ideas. They've never been tested either, but together with Marxism, anarchism in all its forms, and plenty of other political and economic philosophies, they're all to some extent utopian. Yes, it would be a lovely world if it were to happen like that. But things don't happen like that because we're not talking about atoms, we're talking about human beings. And human beings are amazing and nasty and unpredictable. We have history, we have expectations, we have likes and dislikes that bear no relation to logic. We form alliances with people we should hate, we hate people we should agree with. And yes, I do like to talk about the things I have studied if they are pertinent, because I have studied them. I think people have to read as much as they can, not just about a subject, but about similar subjects, and about criticisms of their subject. Read the criticisms, not the answers of the criticisms, was my political philosophy teacher's advice. Always good. So I'm pointing out that I've done the reading, and I know what I'm talking about. And yes, I'm a fundamentalist for thinking properly too, but occasionally you have to let a little pragmatism creep in. Nothing about any political, economic or social theory ever going to be completely right about everything. From what you've said about TZM, the thing that would worry me the most is the idea that only 5% of the people contribute, because to a great extent people get their self-worth from the feeling that they are contributing, whether it's economically, emotionally, organizationally, and perhaps a society where the majority of people did not feel they were giving anything back wouldn't be a very happy one. Hard to say without testing it though. And my response, just because Marxism or anarchism hasn't had a run as long as capitalism doesn't mean it isn't a previously existing system. And some defenders of free market capitalism has said the same thing, that it hasn't been given a chance, or hasn't done properly, or similar excuse. At worst, it puts them in the same category that you have put an RBE in, an idea that hasn't been tested. So you see the point I'm getting at here. An RBE is not a utopia, which is a term used to imply impossible idealism. But the term actually refers to a fixed end state of perfection. Such a concept cannot exist in an emergent universe. Having infinite growth on a finite planet, that is utopian. That is impossible idealism. I've covered this in my podcasts as well. Certain elements of an RBE has been tested in microcosms for decades. The occupations around the world, for instance, are primitive RBEs. The TZM camp at the Burning Man Festival was a primitive RBE. Eco-villages and earthships are primitive RBEs. It's about applying the technology and access to resources as well. All the technology to make an RBE possible has existed for decades and has been used in a microcosmic way for decades as well. When it comes to the human psychology part, we are not inherently bad or greedy. There is a wealth of studies that show that. I've also covered the fallacy of human nature, the human nature argument in my Dispelling Myths podcast. I have already said that the contribution to an RBE is voluntary. The people who work as supervisors for the automated systems, for instance, are referred to as interdisciplinary teams who voluntarily contribute their expertise. Not only that, but education, which is free, so no boundaries or inhibitions upon you to learn anything, will be considered a lifelong, also voluntary pursuit, which encourages people to become of such the attitude that whatever they learn and do to benefit the systems and society also comes back to better their own lives. Self-interest becomes social interest, but people know that they don't have to. An RBE is not a system that suffers from mass non-contribution, unlike every socio-economic system proposed or used before, because I agree that people are driven to do something, and when we delegate the mechanical jobs to machines, liberating humankind from life-wasting labor, in addition to using that technology to serve us and provide for us, the human race can go where they want to go, do what they want to do, and be what they want to be. No price tag holding any of us back whatsoever. I find it impossible to imagine any of that causing anyone unhappiness. None of this rings true with any Marxist doctrine that I have read. And she responds, see, I'm with you on the problems, but I'm not sure how workable the solutions are, but fair play to you for pointing them out. My response, well, we have discussed the solutions. Have you done any further research on them? Her response, I read a lot of the website. Like I say, I agree with what the problems are, and I think a lot of TZM solutions sound interesting, but I'm not convinced they'll work. And also, I'm not comfortable with the idea of only 5% of people working. I think being able to contribute to society is something that's hardwired into our psyche, so I'm not convinced that will result in terribly happy society. But that's just an opinion. Frankly, anything that people are doing to make others think about the state they're allowing the world to get into is a good thing. My response, okay, first off, why exactly won't it work? Second, when I've said 5% working, I meant that as a bare minimum of required workforce. Education will be so damn awesome and interesting that far more people will want to contribute. And her response, I see, I think it's a nice idea, I just can't see it working. I have a lot of experience with organizing things and you do get a lot of people who just see it as an opportunity to do bugger all. Hard to explain. I know we've talked about the Marxism/communism thing, and I'm not sure you got the comparison when I made it, but essentially that's a beautiful system if it works. Trouble is, it's been tried, admittedly not perfectly, but then the world isn't perfect, and it was hijacked by people with very different ideas. That's what I could see happening to your propositions. And my response, no system neither tried or proposed of Marxism or communism utilized technology to liberate mankind. Big difference. And her response, it's pretty much the same argument I have over anyone talking about political science, which I'm aware you're not, but it's a good analogy. People are unpredictable, results are unpredictable, and things that look like they're going to work perfectly don't work at all. No, it's not the system I'm talking about, it's the idea. If you look closely at Marxism, if it had worked as Marx said it would, it would have been good, but it didn't, because people are unpredictable, because the social norms that are already in place will always fight to keep supremacy, and things will change. And my response: no system either tried or proposed of Marxism or communism was based on the scientific method. It has always been built upon human hierarchies. Her response: I assume you enjoy reading. If you get a chance to download a good translation of Gramsci's Prison Notebooks, I think you'll enjoy them. Marx was pretty scientific in his analysis, and anything that involves society has to be based on human reactions, etc. My response: then obviously Marx should have accounted for the human unpredictability that you have just denoted, and thus it should have been successful, right? And yes, the ideas transcend anything tried before. The ideas include using the scientific method as opposed to opinion, and automation as opposed to human labor. That has never been tried before. And her response: but you're always going to have to fight against opinion. I can't think of many scientific ideas that don't have a myriad of opinions attached. We're not robots. We are human beings, and we have opinions. Just look at the number of people who do things that are plainly against their best interests because they've decided they don't agree. And my response: Marx never considered what technology can offer, as it was nowhere near as advanced back then as it is right now. In Marx's time, global communication and thus sharing of ideas in an instant didn't happen. High advanced technology didn't exist to facilitate or enable that. It is nowhere near the same ideas. When you get round to being able to listen to my podcasts, I extensively cover the fallacy of human opinion and how we can reserve it for temporal purposes as opposed to using it for governance because we claim entitlement for it. Now come on, shall we move on from Marx? Marx is in the past. It's time to move forward. And her response: oh, for heaven's sake, I have never said that the ideas are the same for TZM or Marxism. What I am saying is that I think TZM would suffer the same consequences, the ideas being hijacked, etc., so that the essential basis of the thing is challenged. You have to consider opinion. Even people who don't have an opinion demand to be heard. Okay. Essentially, in any system, you'll get people who freeload, people who hijack it for their own plans, and people who use it to gain power. It's inevitable. Any system that doesn't have means to counter these is doomed to fail. And my response: based upon what exactly? The failure of Marx's ideas in history? All information is hijacked. It's how information progresses. It's serially developed from one mind to another as it is considered for its merit and changed along with the physical referent it has or doesn't have. There is more similarity with TZM's material to, say, Buckminster Fuller's material than anything Marx said or advocated. And her response: that is not what I mean. Of course information is hijacked, but we're not talking about information. We're talking about the way a society is run. Okay, things don't run on their own unless you're talking very small groups. I'll give up with the Marx stuff. I have never said the ideas are the same. And my response: who says this, things have to run on their own? And her response: then someone has to run them. Who will that be? And my response: opinions should only be considered when they have weight. We have to get over the ego we have attached to our subjective and unreliable opinions. Just because we have an opinion doesn't mean it has to be considered or even followed. And her response: will it be people who have an interest in how things run, or everyone? Or just one appointed person? Who will appoint them? Who will challenge how things are run? And my response: no one runs anything. And her response: absolutely, I agree with you. Not all opinions are valid, but it is your opinion that TZM will work, and mine that it won't. We both have decent amounts of information and experience on our side, but we've come to different conclusions.